So plants are able to respond to their environment, so respond to a stimulus in the environment, the same as animals do with their nervous system and their endocrine hormonal system. Plants can also do that. So they have plant hormones that allow them to do that. And a plant response is referred to as a tropism. So that's the plant responding to a stimulus in the environment. Now you get different types of tropisms, and so they respond to different things. So for instance, if they respond to light, it's referred to as a phototropism. If they respond to gravity, it's called a gravitropism. Sometimes that's also written as a geotropism. And if they respond to water, then that would be a hydrotropism. Now all of these can either be positive or negative. So it's important if you're asked a question about this in your exam, whether you say it's actually a positive or a negative tropism. So for instance, if a shoot of a plant is moving towards light, that would be a positive phototropism. If a root were growing away from light, then that would be a negative phototropism. So towards the stimulus is positive, away from the stimulus is negative. Now you need to know a little bit about phototropisms in shoots and in roots. So let's have a look first at a shoot. So what we're talking about here is we're talking about a plant. Okay, if you imagine a plant, here it is, and we're looking at the actual tips of the plant. So this area here, where the plant is going to be bending towards the light. Okay, and so that response would be a positive phototropism. So if we look at the shoot itself, so here's the shoot, here's one of the leaves a bit further down. There's our shoot. Let's say we had light coming in from this direction over here. And so what happens is the plant produces the hormone, and the hormone it produces that's responsible for this is called auxin. And the hormone is made here at the very tip of the shoot, and that auxin moves to the dark side. So here it's dark, and here we have the light obviously coming from this direction. So the auxin moves to the dark side of the shoot. And what it does to the cells on that side, it causes those cells to elongate. They lengthen. So if we look in a little bit more detail at the cells and what happens. So here's our shoot. It starts to bend over towards the light. So the cells on this side have lengthened. The cells on this side haven't received any auxin, and they're still quite short. And because these have lengthened, it's pushed our shoot over towards the light. So they have, the cells elongate. And remember that it's got long in it, so they get longer. Okay, so the auxin causes those cells to elongate. Okay, and that's the principle behind phototropism in shoots. So what they could do in an exam is they could give you a question with different experiments that someone might have completed on some shoots. So they would give you a variety of different shoots. So this would be experiment number 1, number 2, number 3, etc. And they would do different things to these shoots. So if we have the light, again, coming from this direction, you have to be able to say what you would expect to happen in each of these situations. So this one here is obviously nothing's happened to this shoot, it's just a shoot growing, and so we would expect that shoot to bend towards the light. The second one, what they might do is they might say we've put a cap or some kind of cover over the top of the shoot, which means that no light is now able to get to this part of the shoot. And so here, if we remember our example up there, the auxin's made at the tip and it moves to the dark side, well, it doesn't recognise which is, it's all dark, so it doesn't know which is dark or light. So the shoot would just continue to grow straight up because it can't differentiate between light or dark. They could put a cap over the top of the shoot, but the cap is transparent. Okay, that means that light is able to pass through it. And so if light is able to pass through it, the shoot is going to respond in exactly the same way as previously. Okay, it's no different to our initial example. They could give you another example where this time they've cut the tip off. Okay, so there's no tip on this shoot. And of course now, because we don't have the tip, we don't have any auxin. So again, nothing is going to happen to that shoot. It's not going to bend at all because there's no auxin present. The other thing that they like to do is they like to give you an example where they have a shoot, but what they've done is they've cut the tip off and they've put on a permeable, jelly kind of block. So this might be something like agar jelly. Okay, so this is a permeable block. And here, and then what they would do is they would put the tip back on top of the block. Now, because this gel is permeable, it means that the hormone is able to pass through. So the auxin made here would pass to the dark side, and we would expect the shoot with its block on the top to bend as usual because the auxin is able to diffuse through to the dark side of the shoot. The other example that they would give you is with an impermeable block. So number 6, they might put another block, but this time it's impermeable. And that means that materials are not able to pass through it. And as materials are not able to pass through it, again, the auxin made here is not able to get to the cells below and cause them to elongate. And so again, nothing would happen to this shoot, it would just remain straight. Now, the other things they do sometimes do is they give you this one, but they give it to you half and half. Okay, so if we look at the last two examples, so number 7 and number 8, if we have a block, an impermeable block, and it's just put on this half, and then on this example it's put on this half, again the light is shining from this direction still. So here with this one, the auxin is made here, it would usually move to the dark side. It can't get there because the block is in the way. So this shoot would not therefore bend because these cells would not elongate, and so our shoot would remain straight. On this side, however, we've got our auxin made here as per usual, and the auxin would move to the dark side, and yes, it can get to the dark side, and so in this example the shoot would bend as we would expect it to. And so just make sure that you could work out by looking at each situation, if the auxin is made at the tip, where would it travel? Can it get to that location? If not, then the shoot won't bend. If yes, it can get to the location, then yes, bending would occur. Auxin is also used in roots to cause roots to grow downwards. So if we had a seed, here's our seed, we would have our root coming out of part of the seed, and then we'd have our shoot also coming out, and that would therefore grow upwards. That would be our shoot that we've just looked at. And auxin is responsible for causing this root to grow downwards. And it works in a similar way, but actually it is opposite. And so again, the auxin is made at the tip of the root, there, and the auxin moves to the lower side, okay, so the underside of the root. And here the difference is that instead of the root cells elongating with auxin, now the root cells are inhibited. So in roots, the auxin inhibits, so that means it stops elongation of the root cells. That means that if I've got my root here, here's my root, here's my auxin in this area here. Okay, it's moved to the lower region of the root. These cells on the top will now lengthen. These ones here will stay short and small. And so my root will therefore start to bend. My elongated cells on this side, my short cells which have been prevented from elongating by auxin on this side. Now there are two other hormones that you just need to be aware of. The first of those are called gibberellins. And gibberellins are used in plants to start germination. Okay, so they start seeds germinating. So if this were my seed here that I planted, then the hormone gibberellins, or a type of gibberellin, would be produced in the seed, and that would trigger my seed to start to germinate to produce roots and shoots. The other type, the third and final type, is ethene. Now ethene is produced to help fruits to ripen. So if you had fruit in your fruit bowl at home, you've probably got some ethene around there, and that's causing those fruits to ripen.